Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a surprisingly sunny Melbourne boat show. Boy, we've got a big guest on right now. We have Andrew Ettinshausen, who's been kind enough to come in and join us. And it's really nice to have him in here. So welcome aboard, ET.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Good to be on board.
How are you finding the boat show so far?
We had 2 beautiful days so far, so I'm not complaining at all. I think the weather might turn a little uglier, but the first 2 days it's been quite impressive because there's been a lot of people actually coming along and calling up and saying g'day and checking out the boat and stuff that I've got down here. So no, it's been actually really good.
Yeah.
Hey, ET, tell us a little bit about your boat that you got on display at the show.
Yeah, well, I've got a Surtees boat. It's a 7-metre game fisher. It's basically got all the bells and whistles. It's I've got to the stage now. I thought, right, everything I want on this boat, like every single thing I can think of that I need, I'll put on her. So this boat's got the works. It's got unfortunately I've got some great companies on board, like everyone these days. Really important to have good associations with companies. We've got many sponsors who sort of help us through. I think a lot of people sort of think that the networks pay you, but it's completely in reverse. So everyone gets a bit of a shock when I say, you're 100 plus thousand in the red basically before you even kick off. So
Have you got a bird radar in your boat?
A bird radar in the boat?
He's talking about the Halo.
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Oh,
Joe's,
Look out.
Joe's asking that because down here when we're tuna fishing, you're looking for the birds, and Joe really wants a bird radar, so he can just spot the birds.
I've got you now. Well, actually,
it's not only the birds; it's also pinpointing the guys on the tuna too. Because
that'd be handy.
Yes,
you need a good radar for that one.
you can be 40 k's in the wrong direction, but if you've got a bird radar and you know where the birds are,
Well, I tell you what. Last year we were fishing was Harvey Bay. And exactly the same sort of thing. I slipped the radar on because I thought, gosh, there's no birds around here. We need them to, to really fire up the session. And about 5 there was this big mob of birds that came up on the Garmin, and boom, we headed straight over there. And thank for that Garmin that we basically had a great afternoon session, spotted mackerel, Spanish mackerel, and heaps of long-tail tuna, and was all thanks to the radar. So the bird, that bird, what do you call it? A bird
radar.
The bird radar?
Halo
that came good. The halo
ET's got a
came
bird
good.
radar.
Joe comes up with his own names for things, just so it may not be actually called bird radar. But
I think it's called the Halo Dome or something. But most companies have them that link with the sounders, so they're quite good.
So you've been recording your TV show for quite a long time now. I don't know if this is actually correct, but 1997?
No, we started in 2000, the year 2000. So this is season 20. This is season 24.
Wow, that's quite amazing.
Yeah, so we're just about to start filming next week. I'll head up to sunny Queensland. Hopefully it's sunny with 7-metre Surtees, and we'll fish out of 1770. So up there you've got this group of islands, the Bunker Group, which is about 50 k's offshore. And the species up there, you've got, so many different, everything from red emperor and your nanny guy all the way through to your cobia and your Spanish mackerel. Basically, coral trout, all that sort of, all the fun stuff that you can catch up there on the reef. So they're all in that one spot. I've got a mate with a 50-foot boat who's going to cruise on up as well. So he'll act as a liverboard boat, and he'll park in Lady Musgrave. I'll have my boat as the fishing boat. So it'll be probably a week of, even if the weather's not so flash up there, you can still get out because you've got probably a dozen different reef systems and islands that you can get behind and fish. So it's sort of one of those places you can almost guarantee you're going to have some good fishing sessions.
Wow, yeah, variety that we can only dream of down here. We're
going to get dumb, stupid big tuna.
We get our game fish season, and then it's snapper
and the huge swords that we catch too. That is a plus because that's all we got, just big fish.
Have you been on the swords, Andrew?
You know what? I haven't been on the swords. So that's it. Probably going through fish species, it's one of only a handful that I haven't actually gone out there and targeted. So
you would have traveled the world and caught nearly everything there is to catch.
I've caught nearly everything, but I've never been sword fishing. So there you go. I had actually Lee Rayner call me at one stage and say, "Oh, you got to come down for the swords. They're going off." I'm thinking, okay, but you're always so tied up with other commitments, so it's very hard to kind of get away. But I'll definitely be down in the next 12 months. I reckon I'll have a good crack at a sword for sure.
Yeah, well,
you probably need to remortgage your house and get about a couple $100,000 because it takes a long time to get one. But I think the code is kind of cracked now, so you probably don't have to.
Yeah, daytime swords. It sounds like there's been a few caught over the last couple of years, and really keen to get out with some. And that's sort of fishing. You got to go with guys who know their stuff, and so that's what I'll probably end up doing. Get out there and learn from somebody who's had a lot of experience catching swords. And that's the great thing about fishing. There's lots of information changing hands all the time, and it's sort of never ending. You're learning stuff all the time, and we've been doing this show now for 24 years. But every season you learn new stuff, and from river to river or reef to reef, people fish it differently for the same species, which is funny enough. But
for sure.
some things work in this place, and probably 10 k's up the road at another creek system or a river system, it's completely different. So I've found that out over the years. You've got to go with the guys who are local, and that's where you guys have done so well. It's some of your stuff down here. We just had a guy pull up a minute ago and say, "Oh yeah, ET, I love your stuff," but these guys are local. They're catching stuff here all the time, so they're the ones who are going to give you the information.
It was actually quite humbling. Like, we don't get that a lot over a big TV star like yourself.
No, we just have to pat ourselves on the back normally.
No, but it's great. That's what fishing's all about. Sharing all the knowledge and trying to put people on the fish if you know a little bit more info than they do.
Yeah, for sure. So over the years, how have you seen technology advance in fishing? And do you think it's a good thing where we're at now, or did you prefer the good old days a little bit more?
These days, I guess fishing in itself has grown enormously, especially over these last few years with COVID. Like, how many boats are out there for sale? Not many, because they can't keep up.
Yeah,
that is absolutely so true. It's been the last couple of years trying to find a used boat has been near impossible. So you're going for the new boats, which are almost the same price, because the influx of people trying to get into the recreational fishing game, it's insane.
It really is. It's crazy stuff. And, we're here at the boat show today. I've got the only Surtees boat in the whole show that my Marine actually sell them. And yet they don't have any stock. So, that's crazy, isn't it? You're here at a boat show. I've got the only Surtees in the whole show. So it's sort of it just shows you, the amount of new fishers who are coming on board, the amount of people now who are taking up fishing and boating. And all the other outdoor activities we have, from four-wheel driving all the way through, the camper vans and trailers, and this outdoor industry has just gone boom, and it's enlarged considerably. So
absolutely.
I think along with it, you're going to have all these technology changes, and I've been working with Garmin for a number of years, and the last couple of years they've come out with the live scope system.
Hasn't that taken over the cod?
My God.
I got a name for that. That's just like the X-ray.
Yeah.
It's just like you see the skeleton of the fish.
It's ridiculous. It really is. Like, I've had some amazing
video game.
Amazing sessions. Really, it is a video game. The first crack I had it was on Lake Moala, and we were chasing big Murray cod. So
with the captain.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And we were cruising along, and basically you stood there, the rod out of the line out of the water, you're hanging on the rod, watching the screen, almost like a computer game, as we're going along on the electric. And next minute, look at that big fish there, big meter. Yeah, that's the cod we're after. Follow it for probably 50 meters, and then it slows up. You get your cast in, watch the lure drop, watch it come across the screen, hop it up over the cod. He turns, you're watching the screen, you see this fish come up, and boom, right at the same time you hook up. It's crazy.
My goodness, it's just like one of those vending machines with the giant claw that just hovers over the goodies, and then it just drops down and picks up the
unbelievable.
The prize.
But it works on, that's Murray cod. Well, we've done sessions on big barramundi up in the dams up north, and same sort of thing. You're casting out wide until you look at your screen and you go, oh my God, there's two big barra over the meter mark sitting underneath the boat. So you crank in real quick, drop it straight down, jig it up above his head, and next minute you're hooked up to a big barrel. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy
insane.
fishing.
You can literally see how they're responding to the retrieves that you're doing as well.
And the type of lure that you're using as well. It may not be working, so you switch it up and go bang.
So I suppose that comes around to the question: is that then cheating?
Yeah, well, it does feel like a little bit of cheating. Although I was then fished Proserpine Dam, which is the home of Big Barra up there. And we went out to one of the snags in probably 12 metres of water, and you get this big tree under us, and it's loaded up with these big barra. And on the, on this Garmin LiveScope, you're actually seeing the fish swim, and these ones were just hovering. And so I've dropped the lure right down on its nose. I reckon I was hitting it and it was getting annoyed, but it would not strike.
Yeah.
And so it just goes to show, even though you've got the gear, you have to really work hard to work out what lure's working, and pretty much sometimes they just don't.
Yeah, for sure.
And the fish, not interested.
Yeah, no, it definitely happens. Over your long footballing career, or rugby as we call it down here. So
No, not rugby.
Rugby
Rugby.
So
is that how you pronounce it?
Oh, rugby league.
Yeah. Rugby league.
Rugby league.
the league, yeah. So did you manage to fish through that, or did you find that the demands of being a professional sports person prevented you from getting out as much as you wished?
I sort of started my fishing when I was about probably 4 or 5 years old. So my grandparents had a tidal waterfront in New South Wales and a place called Empire Bay. And so I grew up, every school holidays, virtually towing, dragging the boat out across the mud flats and hopping in there and chasing brim and whiting, flathead, all those species from a very young age. And I had a whole bunch of cousins who had come up there, all boy cousins. We'd sleep in this boat shed together, and every morning it was a new fishing adventure. So from the age of, young kid right through all my teens, fishing was sort of the thing that I did. Rugby league, of course, was the sport that I was playing as well. And I was sort of 16 when I got asked to play, to trial out for grade rugby league first for the Sharks, for the Cronulla Sharks, my team up in Sydney.
Crazy.
And so fishing was my thing. So I've always fished. It was something that I'd always done. And, in between training sessions, I was out there on the water somewhere fishing, and a lot of guys go and play golf and other sports in between, but mine was the fishing. So I used to drag a lot of my footy mates out there as well. And, as some of those guys have been stuck for life as well. They've hooked their first kingfish, and you know what it's like when you hook something like that. Yeah. You're never, ever going to go back
the first fish that pulls some string.
Exactly. You go, oh, my God.
Straight away.
I want to ask you, Andrew, what is actually your local home ramp back in New South Wales? What's your...
He doesn't want to give his home address away.
I live on it's called the Port Hacking River. I live on that river. It's a river system. It's the next one down from Botany Bay, where the planes all land in, and it's probably more of a commercial sort of river system and bay, Botany Bay.
Yep.
And I'm on the next one down, which is a smaller system, but really, sandy and quite a nice system. Holds a lot of kingfish and mulloway as well. So, whiting, brim, flatties, all those sorts of things. But really nice little system that we can go and have some fun in.
I think I've seen you out there on the kayak catching big flathead and stuff.
Yeah, done all that sort of stuff down there.
We've got a Brendan Winger. Who's been trying to crack the flathead code at the minute. Andrew, what's your best flathead that you've caught?
Best flathead? Well, I haven't cracked the meter mark, but I've probably caught maybe 8 in the 90s.
Oh wow!
So I've caught a lot of big fish, but I haven't cracked that meter mark. So I'm getting close. 96 was my last one, and that was on a big lure, big soft plastic, one that I'd actually used for Murray cod. So it was one of those really big,
like a swim bait.
Yeah, big swim baits.
Yeah.
But it was in probably about 6 meters of water and just off a bankment. So there was a lot of bait pushed up on this one bank. And so I just, kept peppering. And next minute, clunk. Yeah. And this big girl moved off. So pretty exciting.
And if it isn't a secret, which system or province or town?
Well, that was on the Port Hacking, actually, on my own little river. Yeah, just so that was pretty cool. Only a few minutes from home, but
excellent.
Very exciting. When you see that first big, the big head shake, and it's sort of like slow motion. It's like whoa, whoa, whoa. You go, oh my God, this is big, and then you sort of go, gosh, did I bring the net? Yeah, but it came on board, no worries. I actually went right up in the shallows and like to keep the fish out of the water only for, you know, the smallest amount of time. So got a few snaps and then let it go, which was, you know, so good seeing a swim off.
Excellent.
Fantastic. That's a dream fish. Is that probably one of your most memorable catches, or do you have one?
Yeah, you know, all those big flathead are all memorable. I've been in the boat as well with others who have caught big fish at the Flathead Classic up on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Had a young girl who caught a fish, I think it was 94 centimetres, which was, you know, in those tournaments where the boats are parked almost on top of each other, and she's pulled up this 94 centimetre one, and you just shake your head. Oh, my God, you know.
That seems to be the common theme with guests we've had on today. They often say, you know, there's guys that have spent hours and days and weeks and months and years trying to catch these fish, and the one-time angler that goes down with a dirty pilchard catches the biggest fish in history.
Yeah, well, it's pretty crazy. I was out at Nagambie, the fishing tournament, not this year. I was there this year, but the year before. And the guy who won the $80,000 Murray cod, so the biggest cod gets $80,000 in that tournament, Nagambie. And he said he was sitting on this one snag pretty much all day, fishing baits. And, you know, he was going to move about 10 times, but he just went, no, I'll just sit here. And next minute he hooks this big monster and it ended up being an $80,000 fish.
Was that the young footy player?
No, that was last year. The young guy was throwing top water and he got a good fish and won. But the year before, this old fella, you know, just stuck at it, didn't move. If he'd moved, he wouldn't have won the dollars, you know.
It wasn't on cheese, was it?
It was on, I think it was on a yabby. So, yeah, he did pretty well.
You know, you can get those molds where you can mold your cheese into a grub shape.
Yeah.
Maybe it was one of those.
Yeah. Well, it's like we had a fella in earlier and he was saying that he'd been over at Saltwater Creek in South Australia and landed this giant mulloway on an old stinky pilchard and gone in and showed it to all the locals, and they were not happy about it. So they'd all been down there with their fresh live baits for years on end and hadn't caught a fish of the same caliber.
Yep, that always goes on. Sometimes you take someone fishing for the first time and, yep, they'll embarrass you pretty badly because they catch that big monster and you end up, looking red in the face.
Yeah, usually our wives.
It's always females. They always smash the boys.
They've got the touch, I think. I think
Absolutely.
I think especially on like the whiting that we get here.
The squid, the big calamari.
They've got the feel.
Yeah.
Like we're too gung-ho, you know, blokes, testosterone.
Yeah.
It's not pulling enough string. Who cares? Don't pick the rod up.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. So moving back onto the footy briefly, I know you played for the Cronulla for many, many years. It was 328 games.
Yeah, right? 328 games for the Sharkies. But
he's done his research, I tell you what.
Yeah, mate.
He's done well. But, played about 30 state of origins and 30 tests for Australia. So that was, a long career over 18 years. A couple of years over in England, played for Leeds over there for 2 years. And
in the Super League.
It was actually even before the Super League. It was back right back in the 80s. So it was quite a long time ago.
So truly some incredible achievements there. Like
we
look at your
Fun.
fishing. Yeah, we look at your fishing career now, but like you have to realize that you're truly an elite sports person. So
I was fortunate to sort of be able to come through in an era which probably wasn't professional rugby league at that first 10 years of my career.
Yeah.
It was still guys had jobs, day jobs, you know, they were carpenters or whatever, and we trained at night. So, you know, they'd do their daily work and then come to training 2 nights a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday morning and play Sunday. And then the second half of my career was all professional. So we trained, you know, we were there at 7 a.m. in the morning right through till 5 p.m. And we even had breakfast and lunch there. And we'd train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday, and play on the weekend wherever it happened to be, you know, from down in Vic in the Melbourne Storm or right up in North Queensland or wherever it happened to be.
Yeah.
And then all the test matches and things, you know, we had big tours of England and France, 3-month tours. So went on a few of those over the years. And, so a lot of footy. I think in the end, probably 485 first-class games all up. And
that's crazy.
That's an incredible achievement to be able to play that many games in professional sport.
It was, you know, something that I just loved. It's a bit like the fishing, you know, same with you guys. You just love it, you know. It's sort of, it becomes easy when you love something so much, you know. You have to put all the hard work in and you have to have some natural ability, but it's, it was good. I got inducted into the NRL Hall of Fame in 2008. So that was a pretty cool,
incredible,
pretty cool thing So that was sort of, really topped off my footy career. And And the way I got into fishing was pretty much into the television side of fishing was through Rex Hunt.
Really?
Well,
You better.
I was telling these boys before you came on, Andrew, like once Rex Hunt hung up the boots, mate, I absolutely adored your show. Like Rex Hunt was finished, and I remember watching you catching some fantastic fish out at Lord Howe Island, which is, Rex Hunt went to Lord Howe Island, then you went and did it also.
Yeah.
Did he do it better? Who did it better?
Rexy, every fish didn't matter how big it was. It was a good catch for Rexy.
That's the excitement that he projected in his
He
shows.
was great. He was awesome, and I was a big fan of Rex's. And he asked. I was still playing footy. It was towards the end of my career, and he gave me a call and said, would you like to come on a fishing trip with me? I'm bringing Plugger Lockett along. So Tony Lockett and myself, we went up to the top end and we had the best week. It was just an insane week. And I remember just bobbing around in the pool at the end of one of our days. And Rexy goes, "Well, ET, how do you like my office?"
Yeah.
And I went, "Rexy, this is gold champion, Well, this is what I want to do." He said, "You do it, son." So
awesome.
So,
cool.
basically my last year of footy. So in 2000, I'd fly out Tuesday night, film all day Wednesday, and be back for 10 a.m. training on Thursday morning. So we knocked over 22 shows that year. And Channel 9 bought the series. And so I was on Channel 9 at 5 o'clock and Rex was on Channel 7 at 5 o'clock.
Yes.
He'd ring me up after the shows and he'd go, "Oh, mate, great show. Loved it,"
Yeah.
But really, there's only Channel 7, 9 and 10, the ABC back then.
Yeah.
Now there's 1,000 stations and, the world's changed. But, it was really, we had some fun, really good memories.
How's the body holding up after such a long football career? That trio you said before, Rex, yourself, and Tony Lockett, there would have been some sore bodies amongst you guys, I reckon.
Yeah, over the years. I know Rexy played a lot of footy as well. So,
Hello, Ace Jace.
it was a pretty cool, I think he played
Darren, Jace, g'day.
G'day, guys. How's doing?
Couple of local legends there.
Yeah,
AT.
awesome. Yeah, good to see us.
This guy here, if you ever want to catch Kingfish in Victoria, he's a guru.
Sounds good. I'll be looking you up.
No, I think Andrew might teach Jace something. He's probably called more Kingfish in Sydney.
Not down here, though.
We struggle. It's really hard.
No, it's really been that last probably, I don't know, 10 to 15 years. The Kingies have really had a major impact down here. For many years up in our, my system, they just thought that's a normal fish we chase. But,
yeah,
I used to come down to Victoria and there was no one even talking about kingfish, 10 odd years ago. But these last 10 years, there's been a major change. And, I think once they banned all those traps they had all the way along the coastline, that just about wiped out the whole population of kings. They were virtually just a big weed mat on the top and a hole at each end, and the kings just packed in there.
Yeah.
And but once they were banned, and now we got good numbers of big fish coming back.
Yeah.
We're finding it in even our systems up there this year. Probably about 6 weeks ago, we had a school of fish over a metre 20 in my little river system, but they were all schooled up. And so when kingies school up like that at that time of year, that there's a spawning occurrence happening. And I think that was a great sign, and I hadn't seen that for 30 years, So it was a really good thing that's happening, and it's great to see the kings coming down here, and the people are going out catching snapper, and then they're ducking out and getting change of tide, sort of good windows to be able to catch some good kings, and it's great stuff.
Yeah, well, they were an enigma here for a little while there. Like I remember
Absolutely.
Probably around 2011, I made it my mission to catch a king. I'd never caught one before, but I thought, why not do it from home? I think it took me about 15 trips. Finally caught one there off Cape Shank, between Western Port and Port Phillip. And the moment that I caught that fish, I was like, oh my God, they actually do exist.
Yeah.
Fast forward to now, every year we have a very consistent fishery. Down there in Western Port last year, they were hanging off this particular marker buoy for weeks and weeks.
Inside the estuary system.
Yep.
All fish tend,
mud, pea soup water.
all fish tend to like 16, 18 kilo.
Yeah,
like,
beautiful fish. They're a good fish.
Yeah, really big models.
The current's going about 25k an hour there as well. It's insane.
And they're just sitting in behind it.
Yep. Which we would just never
Just
have seen.
one little chain holding a buoy up.
Unbelievable. Yep.
Yeah, which we would never have seen in the past. And I think we have seen some of those spawning events type congregations that you've talked about.
Especially off the Seal Group Islands off Wilson's Prom there. There's
Yep.
lots of kingfish there.
Yep, and in off our East Gippsland, I'll have to send you a link later
Malakuta, yeah.
because we got some footage of like the surface of the water just turned green with kingfish just everywhere. Absolutely incredible to see. So.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I've done a fair bit of fishing in South Oz for them as well, and over there you get
Samsons and
but you get massive schools of monster kings, and when I'm talking kings, where you're talking 25, 30 kilo plus.
Yeah.
They're big beasts.
So speaking of the blue water, ET, I wanted to ask you. Now you promote a seasick system. I got really seasick once. I went with Brendan. We travelled to the Ranfurly Banks in New Zealand. We did 3-day liveaboard. And look, I caught some fish, but between having a kingfish attached to myself, I was chucking my guts out. Can you tell me a little bit about your seasick system?
It's not the Pahia bomb, is it?
Well, it's you know what, the old Pahia bombs aren't too bad.
Yeah.
But it was something years ago that I was I was doing the second year in my shows, so it only just started, and I'm going, gosh, I'm not too bad outside, but you'd get out there, the weather would turn not real nice after lunch, and you'd be in this horrible swell, but the fish were biting, and you'd wanted to stay out there. It was sort of a situation where you'd, every now and again you'd start, heaving over the side, and you just, once you've done it, and you get sick, you go, I don't want to do that ever again. That is a horrible experience.
You're basically just using all your energy to survive when you get seasickness. It's such a vivid experience. Like, you just want it to end.
I don't really get it, but I watch Joe sometimes and it doesn't look very fun.
Yeah, you almost want to dive in and swim ashore, even if it's 100 k's. You go mental over the whole aspect. It's never going to end, and you're out here, and no one's going to take you home. It's pretty horrible. No, I've got some. So I ended up going into I went into a pharmacist, and I didn't realise, but it was a compound pharmacist. And what they do, they make up tablets and pills for people for all sorts of different illnesses. And so I talked to the girl, and I was saying, oh, look, I do this fishing show, and I need to get out on the water, out to sea and do a lot of fishing and filming out there. And I said, look, I've found something that works. Can we do something along those lines, or make something similar, or can we add some things? And she said, oh, come with me. And we went in this lift. Next minute we went downstairs, and there's all these science dudes down there, all in their white coats and the whole works. And I'm going, oh my God,
New South Wales.
This is only 5 minutes from my home. I never knew it existed. Right?
This is in Area 51.
It's like laboratories and all this stuff going on. Anyway, so I got chatting to the head chemist down there. And he said, yeah, we'll put something together, but you're going to have to be the guinea pig for a few months.
and then, folks, that's how Underbelly Sydney was created.
A tale of two cities.
Exactly. Well, I ended up cheers, brother.
Thanks, mate.
And ended up, so we ended up onto the right concoction that actually worked. And then we, I used them for about 6 months, and I was never sick again. And
was this before you'd actually step on the water, or is this something as you start to feel sick on the boat?
So an hour before I go on the boat, I take a seasick tablet. Even if it's a calm day, because you know what it's like.
It's insurance.
At the end of the day, it can be, that swell could have picked up and the wind can be blowing its bum off. You want to be out there fishing, but you're stuck. So
it's basically like sun cream. You got to apply before you go in the sun.
100%. Yep. I always pop the pills. They're a little blue pills, and they got it's just a one tablet. Take it an hour before, and you can have up to 4 through the day if you really do suffer heavily from seasickness. I take one, and that's it for the day.
I'm just thinking more so like those liveaboard trips. A lot of people that do liveaboard, you're spending a lot of money on going away, and you really want to enjoy your time away and catch fish. So
1,300 seasick. So whatever those numbers are, 1,300 and seasick on the end, or you can go to.
It's on your website, I believe.
Yeah, check it out on the website. You'll see the ad on the bottom of our website at escapefishingwithet.com. And I've been now probably 18 years on from that.
Really?
And I have never been seasick taking those pills ever. My cameraman takes them, and you can imagine him out on the water with a big camera going up and down, side to side. When he's takes the if I'm coming up to a trip and I've run out and I'm going, my heart's jumping through my chest because I'm thinking, oh my God, I've got to have these. I've got to have them because it just makes such a difference. You go out there, it almost is like flat water. It doesn't matter what the swell is, and you just catch whatever, and you're living the good life.
That'd be quite revolutionary for us if Joe was up and about on our fishing trips, because generally he'll get a bit drowsy, sleep, wakes up to a real screaming. And
especially at Tiagra. And he gets up straight away and gets to wind the fishing.
Yeah, well, the problem is with a lot of the tablets, you don't have anything to kind of keep you up. Your eyes are shutting and your brain's still ticking, but you're basically been bombed out by the pills that you're taking. So I can really vouch for these seasick tablets that Nile Pharmacy do.
Got another question for you, ET, with blue water fishing, mate. I've seen you've done quite a bit of big black marlin fishing in Lizard Island. I'm just thinking about now, sort of October's a big black season. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with that?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. Like when I was playing rugby league, the Shimano company are only down the road from where I live, and they were all mad shark supporters. Who was my rugby league team, and so I got to meet John Dunphy, who ran Shimano for many years before his passing a few years ago, and he became a great mate of mine. And so even for many years when I was playing footy, at the end of my footy season, Dump would be going away on a trip and I'd be tagging along, and it could be to New Guinea or the Kimberley or anywhere, Cape York. And so every year, at the end of my footy season, boom, I'd be on this, great 10-day trip to wherever. I remember the first time I ever went to the Barrier Reef, to the Ribbon Reefs at this time of the year. I was up there had a big liverboard boat. We had 2 game boats. There was a famous skipper called Brazaka who was, Brazaka. He was driving one of the boats, and we had another guy driving the other boat and all the deckhands. And we had this just window of beautiful weather for like 7 days up there. And, it's often unheard of. You get those consecutive days that actually work really well. And we were fishing. And to me, it was learning a hell of a lot about fishing. I hadn't done a lot of that sort of big marlin fishing before, and it was just an eye-opener for me, seeing these huge fish come in and smash our baits. Now, the baits were like mackerel, and they were probably 3 feet long, 4 foot long, massive, big, like 10-kilo yellowfin tuna a bit towed behind a big 20-hour hook.
My type of fishing.
Like, my God.
You have fun catching the bait.
100%. You go out catching the bait, and you're over the moon. But it's pretty special stuff, and I've been fortunate to be, I've caught a number of big fish over the years, which has been great. Probably one of my favourite memories, though, we did it in a trailer boat.
Yes.
You took the Surtees up to the Ribbon Reefs,
it wasn't a Surtees, but we took this boat. We took a 7-metre boat up there. and
Joe, you're trying to lose his sponsorship here.
Yeah, we got it. But we had a liverboard boat with us, which was fantastic. It was actually a guy called Tony Spiteri. Now, have you heard of Tony? Tony runs charters out of here, and Two Up fishing charters. He doesn't do it much anymore, I don't think, but he's got his son and daughter who are great fishers as well.
I think he builds boats.
He's a very talented man, but I actually fished with him earlier this year, and we went out on some snapper out here with some prize winners, and they caught a bunch of fish. Hey, so it was pretty cool. But Tony was skipper of a boat that was going out to chase big marlin. He had a group of probably about 6 or 7 Melbourne anglers who came along for the trip, and they headed north to this jewel reef where we wanted to fish. And so they were sort of chaperoning us all the way, which was absolutely amazing. Yeah. It was so good to have this big liverboard boat there, be able to fish on my boat, the 7-metre boat. I'd had it all decked out, had a full game chair put in. We were using the real big gear, so all the big Tiagras and basically towing massive baits. The first fish that we got to the boat, and we'd go off in one direction and they'd go off in another direction, and we'd just meet up basically at dinner time, and we'd come back and join up with them, and we all stayed on that bigger boat too. It was like about a 60-footer, beautiful boat.
Nice.
Anyway, so we've hooked the first fish, and it was about a probably around the 100-kilo mark. I was sort of going, wow, like this is a pretty cool fish, but it's not the big one we're after, you know. And it had eaten this massive big bait. Couldn't believe it. You know, what the hell are they eating? You know, like anyway, I hooked it. So the next day I hooked another one about 100 kilo again, and they were like these male marlin and
The little ones.
the little fellas. And then the third day we've come on in, and one of the big tuna we'd had on, and we were skipping it across the surface, got demolished by this fish. And I'm looking at it, and I'm just seeing this little tip of a bill, and I'm going, oh, looks like another male, because I'm doing a show up there, you know. And next minute, these things come out of the water, and it's just slow motion, and these big girls come out, and it was easy 800 up to that 1,000-pound mark, and it's just come out, and I'm just going, oh my God, this is the one. And so we had an absolute battle on our hands then in a small trailer boat. The winds were blowing probably good 30 plus knots.
Oh, wow.
So it was howling, the sea was up, and we had waves coming over the top. It took us 3 Ks from where we hooked the thing, and got it to the boat in about 45 minutes.
That's pretty good going.
But I don't think she didn't even know that we'd hooked. You know?
She came up to look at you.
She came up, had a bit of a look, but when, you know, we took Madeki took the wraps on her, and next minute he's got his hand stuck, and he's nearly going over the back of the boat with this big girl just porpoising out the back.
Good grief.
It was made an incredible footage, and we ended up another 40 minutes later, we got her to the boat again, and we ended up cutting her off right there at the boat. So that was, you should have seen this fish. It was a monster.
Out of a trailer boat too.
Out of a trailer boat.
Well, I think I'm going to do it in a 420 Renegade next year.
Good luck.
No, stuff that.
Now we've got a 6-meter boat. We're actually going to do it one day.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should have a crack, boys. I'll
Yeah.
tell you, it's pretty special.
Did you drive up, or did you send it up on the train?
No, I drove up, so took it up. It was a long trip. It took 3 days to get there. So it's a long way. That Queensland border. Once you hit her, that's only day one.
Yeah.
Then you got to go, virtually get up to the Whitsundays, and then the Whitsundays, then up to Cairns. But we went higher than Cairns, went right up to Cooktown, and that's where we put in there. Headed out to the reef systems there. Tons of fish out there, as far as everything from red emperor to all your red bass and all that sort of stuff. But we fished for all of our bait, the mackerels, and we caught a whole pile of those. So we had them on ice, and had a mate with me who rigged them all up brilliantly, who'd been over in Papua New Guinea fishing on a game boat and learn all how to rig up. So he was, and I had my mate Robbie McCulloch, who again passed away, another mate who passed away a couple of years ago. He was a great skipper, so I had him him driving. I was fishing, and we didn't have anybody to actually. We had the cameraman, and we had the basically the deckhand, but him holding onto that big fish. There was no way we had anybody to actually tag the fish. We had the tag and we're going, oh my God, there's nobody. You know, it was that when you got a fish that big in a little boat, and it's sort of almost as long as the boat.
Yeah,
it's a scary situation, but
absolutely.
Yeah, it was a great memory.
And then how much time did you have to allow for
Joe.
that? Sorry.
We wanted to change tack a little bit now, I'm afraid.
Of course. That's
Yeah.
all right.
We have a question for we have a question. ET, I don't know if you know this, but Joe
He's a reality TV tragic.
He's a reality TV star,
and he got booted off after the first date.
So Joe was on reality TV. He was on a show called Dating in the Dark.
Dating in the dark. Okay,
So
is that where you got to feel your way?
That's it. It was on Foxtel at the time.
He felt his way all right.
So they go in the dark room, and they got to they can't see each other. They got to work out if they like each other.
Wait, I can do it. 3 guys and 3 girls live in this beachside mansion, and the only interaction they have with each other is in a dark room.
Yeah. So anyway,
I'll tell you what, for a lot of guys, that sounds pretty good.
Joe enjoyed it. So the reason I bring that up is I think you had a reality TV experience not too long ago.
Yeah, no, I was very fortunate to get asked to come on Survivor.
Yeah.
Which was just mind blowing, you know. And you watch it on television and you think, oh, it's all pretty easy, you know. But when you're actually there, you're eating the rice for so many days that you start to get pretty weak. You're stripping weight like no tomorrow, and then you got these challenges that you have to go pretty hard, and to win you actually really have to go hard, and then you've actually got to start stabbing people in the back and doing all that stuff. Well, I never quite got to that stage, but it was certainly a great experience.
So is it as it looks on TV, or do you go back to a hotel every night?
Yeah, well, God, I wish we did, but no. It's when it rains, you get wet.
Yeah, right.
And I remember you think you're in Fiji, but it was freezing cold. So you're laying there in your shorts. We had only one lot of clothing that you could take, and you're just shivering, you're just shaking all morning until the sun comes up. It's pretty crazy. And then they basically the producers will say, okay, we've got a challenge on today, and from now on there's no more talking. So you can't talk and communicate with anybody there. It's pretty crazy stuff. And then basically, if you do talk to anybody, they scream the house down at you.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you feel like a kindergarten kid. So, they really are strict on all that stuff. No communication. You go into a van. After you walk along the beach, and then you hop off and you go into a van, because you're a long way from where the actual events are happening, all the challenges, and they blindfold you in the van. So you've blindfolded all the way to wherever you're going. You get out, you're blindfolded, walk up to this tent, you sit there for another hour, contemplating what the hell this is going to be, and then you virtually walk into the challenge, get 5 minutes to check out what the hell you're doing, and you're away and you're going hard. And I tell you what, it's very daunting the whole way through.
So do you actually know where you were, like put on the island? Like, do you know which island it was?
Oh yeah, they use a number of different islands, but you fly in, so you do all that, but you do that with a chaperone as well. You're not allowed to talk to anybody from Australia all the way to Fiji, and all the way from the transport all the way to the showground. So it is legit all the way right through. And
I actually stayed there when they were filming it. It was on Savu.
Savu. Yeah, that's right.
Where you were?
Yep.
I might have bumped into you at the buffet.
May have.
This was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
About maybe 3 years ago.
I think I missed you by a year.
Yeah, you might have missed me, but
yeah,
it's an incredible experience. It was fantastic just to be involved in it all, and I was very fortunate. I was with a bunch of other athletes, and it sort of worked good and bad in that as well. We were trying to stick together as an athletic team, and it just didn't quite fire and work, but we had a lot of fun.
Now, what were your duties on the island? You weren't the fisherman, were you?
Well, unfortunately, there wasn't much of that happening. We didn't have any fishing lines for fair bit of it. And then when they gave you the lines, there was no bait or anything. So you had to go and you had no knives or any, you basically, it's a very different experience.
Make your own hook.
You have to make your own fires even, and as you say, you have to do all of those things. And if that fire goes out, I tell you what, it's a nightmare, because you have to re-kick it and start it all again. And it's your only warmth around the place, and you'll dry your clothes out next to it. And when it rains there and the mozzies are going berserk all over you and you're shaking and shivering, it's not a fun place.
My wife's just commented on the feed, and apparently it was that year. And quite remarkably, I was undergoing some challenges as well, because I didn't take any fishing gear.
Well, there you go.
So I had to borrow a hand line, and got my silver foiled coffee packet and made a fly on the hook, and borrowed a kayak, and I went out there. And
how'd you go, Davey?
I caught a couple of little reef fish, and there was no fire to cook them on there. Unfortunately, the resort didn't want me lighting fires, but very similar experiences.
Well, our biggest fish was probably about 4 or 5 inches long. That was the biggest one. And, we really struggled trying to catch them. And I guess the other thing is, you don't get the time what you think you're going to get. You think, oh yeah, got the whole morning, but no, next minute at 9 o'clock you got a challenge on that takes you through till 1:30, 2 o'clock in the day, so you just don't get the time to do what you think you're going to be able to do.
Well, a lot of people would have been impressed with 4 or 5 inches.
Well, that's true, but I tell you what, nobody liked biting it.
There you go, Joe. There's some good info for you. We were thinking about getting Joe back into the reality TV scene with another dating show, but I think maybe Survivor could be your gig.
Yeah, well, it's losing weight sounds good.
And you lose it quick, let me tell you.
That's what he got out of his whole Survivor story, losing weight.
Yeah. I met some good people.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on, ET. We don't want to keep you too much longer. You were very generous with your time, and we thank you very much. We'd love to catch up with you again at some stage and maybe take you fishing out our way.
That'd be great.
We've got a mate with a big 60-foot Maritimo on the sword grounds. So
Absolutely.
maybe we could take you out for that swordfish in comfort.
Well, that sort of thing would be pretty wicked. You know,
Yeah.
it's I guess with the television shows, you know, we're virtually funded through our sponsors, and
Yeah.
you know, we're very fortunate to have some great companies on board, and with us, Surtees is on board, so it's sort of a, you know, pretty much all my fishing has to be done on a Surtees boat. But then when you talk of game boats and boats that are bigger, I can go on any of those.
Yeah.
So, if you guys have got access to something like that, I'd love to give it a
We've got
crack.
a few mates with a couple of big boats, so
Yeah.
see what we can do, Davey.
We haven't had the big boat experience out there ourselves. Like we've been out in 17 footers and stuff, but it does sound quite tempting. I think we could swing it for you.
Yeah, sounds good, boys.
Awesome. What have you got on for the rest of the weekend, just to wrap up?
Yeah, here pretty much. I'm loving this weather. The rain hasn't come down yet, which is great. So we've had a couple of nice days. There's lots of people wandering through. Been great to chat and just catch up with the people who love their fishing and love their boating. So it's been a really good one. And I'll be here till Sunday before checking out, and then next week kicking off the new series 24.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
best
a lot of
wishes
series.
with the new series too.
Yeah, cheers, guys. Appreciate it.
Keep an eye out for that one, everyone, coming to a screen near you, and come down and see us and Andrew at the boat show.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much.
You all right?
Champion.
Yeah, no worries.
Appreciate it.